Alright, finally gonna read it.
I guess what I love most about her, she isn't just one thing. So
Nah.
much larger than that.
I gotta start by saying thank you, because somehow my previous video on season 1 blew up, and I'm so thankful for everyone who commented, liked, watched the video, and all my new subscribers. I passed 200, which is just insane, because literally like 3 videos ago, I was talking about how I only had 20, and that just... So thank you from the bottom of my heart. But into more pressing matters. I was originally going to film this video right after finishing season 2, which we did in one day. But then I saw all these comments on my first video. People with varying ideas and different interpretations and experiences watching the show and how they compared season 1 and season 2. So I wanted to wait a little bit for the rose-colored lenses to fade before I actually wrote my feelings on this season. Now that I can think a little more clearly, let's talk about where this season brought our characters. Old and new. During my first viewing, I was once again graced with the presence of my partner, who read the Grishaverse back to back and was apparently on something called Crow's Talk, which confused me at first, but I would eventually find myself on not much later.
Isn't that right? Waffles.
But as we ordered way too much food and started season 2, I was nothing but hopeful. Hopeful for Alina's sake that she would become less insufferable and the writers learned a little bit in season 1 and that the crows would get all the screen time they deserve. And I will say, it did not let me down. Kind of. Okay, a little. I was finally excited to see the crows all together, but with Matthias behind bars for the entire season, that did not happen. And yes, while Alina did get better, she still had her moments that made me question why she's the protagonist. But let's get started on the new characters. Starting off strong with Wylan. Finally getting the last crow that was teased in season 1, it was the perfect final puzzle piece. And the chemistry he had, not just with his explosives, but with the rest of the crows, was absolutely contagious, especially with a certain one. And for real, who can blame the man? Risen up Jesper the first chance he gets? But here comes the first downside in season 2. Apparently Jesper and Wylan's relationship in the books was a lot more organic and earned over time, and I would have loved to see that. Like, it's nice they hooked up pretty quickly and were together and they're cute and they solve things together. I kind of wish it was more of a slow burn. It would have held a lot more suspense and had us rooting for them to get together instead of just having them get together like episode 2 or something. And you can quote me on this next part, okay? I'm telling you, in season 3 or one of the Crow spin-off episodes, there's totally going to be some contrived drama that breaks them up for half the season or a few episodes that is just really stupid. But now on to our villain. They couldn't have had a more badass, morally gray, unpredictable... Sorry, I meant the other one. There you go, Pekka Rollins. Sorry, I got a little confused. But honestly, Pekka Rollins increased the suspense and stakes of every crow scene, and that made it so much more enjoyable. And just like I predicted in my first video, Kaz lost it all, giving up Alina. But me if he isn't going to try his hardest to get it back. Overall, it was a great addition, and allowed us to learn the backstories of our crows that we haven't seen yet, which I'll get into separately later. But first and most importantly, my favorite new character, Nikolai Lantsov, the pirate.
Privateer.
Honestly, the only saving grace in most of Alina's scenes. So all around, these new characters really enhanced season 2. Honestly, some scenes I was jumping up and down like a little kid. Well, definitely not all scenes. Story-wise, I'll give him credit where credit's due. It's pretty ballsy to put together 2 books and a bunch of the Crow story in the one season of television. But as packed as it was, I think it handled time management pretty well up until the end, when it seemed like we were getting more of Alina's story because they were supposed to be intertwined, but they really weren't. That being said, it feels really forced when they bring the crows back into the main storyline by having them go find this magical sword that can destroy these shadow monsters. You can tell the writers just didn't know what to do with them at that point. And since for some reason this isn't 2 TV shows and is all compiled on the one show, there is still that feeling of pacing difference when you switch from one story to the next, where Alina's story is a little slower than the Crow's, but I will give them credit, they had more stakes than they ever had in season 1 for Alina's side, with the Darkling being ruthless and his monstrous tearing a new asshole and anyone who came and tried to touch a hair on his perfectly shaped beard. But nonetheless, this season also does a great job of showing how much hatred the Grisha really get from the rest of the world.
See, now I feel sorry for him.
And how it switched my sympathies from season 1 between the first and second army, because now I felt really bad for the Grisha, and I could tell the first army was like way overcompensating. Well, not all the Grisha. Definitely not all the Grisha.
Gotcha, bitch!
But overall, in the story, they made Alina actually pretty enjoyable for most scenes. She wasn't as naive as she was in the first season, and she really didn't make any stupid decisions. Until the end.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
Speaking of Alina, she's definitely more proactive and cocky in this season, which I didn't even know was possible. But the show misses the mark reminding us that Alina is some great saint that everyone loves, because we never get any reminders or anyone falling to their knees in worship, which apparently happens in the books. So honestly, I keep forgetting why she's so important, and everyone keeps bending over backwards to aid her in her incompetency. And even though she's not convincing as some fearless leader, it did make me want to skip these scenes. Except this scene, because it seemed like it went on for 20 years. But hey, at least my guy Mal didn't die a virgin. Up top, dude. Oh wait, they changed the ending? Mal and Alina don't change their names and go live happily ever after and have a really cute storyline? Oh, so Alina uses the power of love somehow to save Mal, and ultimately damns herself to the same fate as a Darkling? Oh, and her and Mal don't stay together? Yep. I get it. Netflix wants more seasons and more money, but now that we're through all 3 books of the Shadow and Bone series, where do we go from here? We did see a little bit of this Grisha drug storyline that Alina's apparently going to be a part of now, which I'm pretty sure originally only happened in the first Crow's book, and it looks pretty badass. But more interestingly, Alina has Darkling powers now? What? Okay, but season 3 predictions are for another video. Overall, the story was more enticing, with clear motivations, steps, and the reveal of Mal being the Firebird literally had my jaw on the floor. But arguably more important, how did this overall season make me feel? Seriously though, I enjoyed it. There were obviously story points that I don't agree with, like the new take on Mal and Alina's story. And a part of me is disappointed because they decided to force together so many storylines into one season and change a bunch of the dynamics that we missed from the books. And sure, I'm all for readapting your series for a new audience, but you can't forget the old one. And I just feel like there's so much wasted potential. But oof, the real punches to the heart were, one, we had like no time with Matthias, so I didn't learn anything about his character, and I didn't get to see any interactions with Nina, which were like the bread and butter of season 1. 2, if we already saw so much of the Crow's backstories and learned so much about them, what are we going to see in season 3 in the spinoff? I'm sure they might have their own adventures, but are we going to learn anything more about these characters? I don't know. And 3, why in the world would Inej leave after she finally had Kaz admit he wants her?
I'm dying. Help me.
Like, sure, girl boss, go off, like, go find your brother, honestly, whatever. But don't be giving flirty looks towards Toyla. Okay? Ugh, that part crushed me. And now the story's in, like, uncharted territory, so I don't really know what to expect. But at least I still have the most badass, gunslinging, button-throwing Dorist, and the most adorable little terrorist to keep me watching. And of course Kaz, especially in his sugar daddy phase he's in now. But as always, I would love to know your thoughts. Did season 2 live up to your expectations or let them down? And where do you think the story will go in season 3 or in the Crow spinoff? And finally, let me know if you agree that Inej is crazy for running away from this bloodthirsty icon we got this season. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe down below. I have a bunch of videos coming out that I'm really excited for. Make sure to comment your feelings or any ideas for future videos. Like, subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.